Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I have an amazing guest on. Her name, excuse me if I can get it out. Her name is Patricia M. Watson, and you're going to be blown away by this lady's story. So make sure you stay with us and share this out. Please share it out. And we are back. Let me bring Patricia on. Patricia, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm good. It's a good day.
I know you're good. I know you're good. So I started this show a few years ago. I have interviewed 370 some odd celebrities and entrepreneurs, and I love to give people the opportunity to share their story and help other people along the way. And so, Patricia, we're gonna talk about your life story today, and we're gonna start with you telling everybody in a full screen layout where were you born and raised?
Yeah, I was born and raised in a small town in Lincoln County called Eola, Missouri.
Missouri. I thought that if you were from there, you called it Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
We've had several different dialogues with that has been sometimes a big not a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Good old Eola, Missouri, very small town, agricultural farm, a lot of agricultural farmers, very, very small. I mean, literally a couple 300 people. My graduating class, I think I was 30. We had 36 people in the class.
That's tiny.
Yeah. And with my last name being W, obviously you had to sit through the whole thing of everything. Right.
Yeah.
But at least it was 36. It was only 36 versus.
Yeah. I can relate to that. Totally. So what was it like for you? I mean, so you grew up in that's a small, let me guess, was there a traffic light in your town?
Oh, you're real funny. Oh, I forgot you have jokes.
I'm serious. I grew up in a town. There were 82 people, I think, in my graduating class, and my town had one traffic light. One.
No traffic lights. Gravel roads, county roads.
Whoa.
Blacktop going through town, the main drag. So when you got off the highway, good old Highway 61, when you go into town, it's just one blacktop goes through DFF, or forget the exact, but that's the link through town. Wow. And that was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So it was
Amish. If you go north, there's an Amish community there. So it was not uncommon when you're on the highway or whatever to see horse and buggy carriage, as well. True story. In one of the small towns that was north of Eola, they literally had the Amish got pulled over for a traffic ticket. Horse and buggy.
Really?
It made national news.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Now was your family in agriculture, farming?
It was a farm community, and my dad wasn't on the farm, but farmed, so did a lot of, with the combines, with the Milo and what do they call it? I can't even think now. Wheat, corn, that type of thing, and taking it to the silos. And so it was always a really growing up, especially like it's hot outside now, and dad was out in the fields, because farmers, I have such an appreciation for agriculture, like when you eat things and where has come from.
Yeah.
If you really think about the work that has went into getting that to market, it's a lot of labor intensive, and time, long hours, early morning, and depending on where your farm or what type of farm you had, whether it was a dairy farm or an all-encompass where you did crops and then you did hay and you had animals, that's a lot of work. So I can remember times where we would have to get dinner ready, and we would literally go to the field out in the backwoods someplace and have to wait 45 minutes to an hour plus for them to come around to serve lunch,
Wow.
But I can remember as a little girl, running through the fields, like, oh, we see the combine running, coming and hopping in. And sometimes, we got to get a ride back as a kid. So it was a lot of good memories too.
Wow. Now, did you have brothers and sisters?
I have 2 sisters and I am the oldest.
Wow.
Yes.
Imagine that.
Imagine that.
I could have actually, I know you pretty well. I think I could have guessed that you're the oldest.
Yeah. I'm the oldest.
So growing up as a kid, I mean, what did you do for fun? Did you get in trouble? Did you, well, you were the oldest. You probably didn't get in any trouble.
I'm going to keep it. Well, let's define trouble, because there's different variations of trouble.
Yes, there are.
So trouble, let's just say I had a few switchings in my day where literally you'd have to go. It wasn't like I'm going to get a switch. You had to go pick your own switch, and you better hope you came back with the right size, the right, because if not, that it wasn't going to be good. So yes, I had a couple of challenges where I would push the limit, and yes, I was rewarded with the discipline of you won't do that again, or if you do, well, here you go. If you like that, keep coming back.
So I mean, what was it like? I mean, that's a tiny community. What was that like? What was the closest city?
Well, define city. Are you talking town?
Kansas City.
Okay, so St. Louis would be the closest. So that would be probably around, and depending on what part of St. Louis you were going to, minimally an hour drive to go anywhere. So to go, and this was before they had grown and expanded. So even to go get groceries, it was a minimum of 13 to 15 to 20 miles to go get groceries, because the one store that we had in town, you could get small items and everything. But if you're looking to go and, provide everything for the household, that wasn't going to happen, because it was limited. But as far as fresh sandwiches that was made and that type of thing, it was always good to go there, because everybody knew everybody gathered in the morning time for coffee and just to chit chat and have conversations. So growing up knowing, and you could almost, depending on what time of day, you knew who was going to be in the store, how long they were going to be in the store, what they were holding in their hand, the whole gamut. So just having those memories as a kid, of what it meant to be in that small town community. Now I have a new appreciation for it when you think of those things, because it was a lot of good, wholesome, just people just enjoying being with each other. No agendas, no anything. Just, hey, you're here, and what are you doing? I'll see you this afternoon at 2 or whatever. It's kind of cool.
So when you graduated high school in this little town?
Yes, I did. I got my diploma and everything.
Okay. And then did you end up going to college?
Yes, I did. Well, I started working first, because at that time I really did not want to, I just wanted to start working right away. I had a full scholarship for track and a full scholarship for music. And I did not take advantage of those. I instead chose to go to work. I was, at the time, you really don't know what you want to do. So looking back now, I wish I would have taken advantage of both of those opportunities. But I started working, and then through working, I started then going back to school and finished my degree.
Now, when you say, where did you start work, and did you stay in this small town?
I stayed. So when I graduated from high school, so here's the other interesting thing, because of my age, because I was the youngest person in the class, right? So I was the last person to get their permit, the last person to get their license. Yeah. The advantage of it, though, was when I graduated, I was still 17.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. Yeah. But what was the question again? I just literally lost my train of thought.
Did you stay in the small town when you started working? You said you started working right out of high school.
Yeah.
Did you stay there, or did you move to a bigger city?
No, I stayed there, and then my first job was, now I had always done a lot of things because I've always had multiple things under my belt. So I taught piano lessons. I had 17 students at one point.
Wow.
I babysat. I mean, I saw a direct sales. Back then, House of Lloyd, I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it was a direct sales company. It's just a catalog full of basically Christmas toys. So I would go door to door, and I was really good at it, at selling that kind of stuff. So I always had something going on. But
that was as a teenager?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I always was able to, and I just have always, I like that. So my first job was at a bank. So I started there. I started out as a drive-up teller, and in Troy, Missouri. And wow. Troy, Missouri is bigger than Eola, obviously. It was 18 miles southwest. However, it was, I think they had several thousands at that time. I don't know the exact number. However, when I started there, and the drive up, it got to the point where I was pretty much a one woman show, because it would, so there was 4 lanes, and where the bank was, it was, if all of the lanes were full, it literally would be backed up all the way through down that street, Main Street there. And I got so good with counting cash and knowing the people, they literally, people wouldn't go inside because they liked coming through drive up because it was quicker, even though when you looked at it, it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long wait. I could literally have a dialogue, talk to them, know exactly, the change that people wanted, the bills that they wanted. So it was kind of cool. That taught me a lot about efficiency, how to manage and maximize what you're doing in a very short period of time too. And it was very rewarding for me. I remember specifically this lady came, it was really busy, and this lady came through. She was an artist and did very, very well. And we always had to, if it was over a certain dollar amount, we had to check the signatures, right? Well, she was being a little cantankerous, and she didn't want to give her ID or check the signature. And so I had to check her account, which she was not happy about. And so, she really wasn't happy. So she basically said, just give me her check back, give her the check back. And yeah. She took it inside. Well, guess what? I didn't know who the lady was. It was the president of the bank. It was his wife.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, and he had just had surgery. So he kind of was limping. I was busy, and here he came in. I was like, I said, yeah, I know what I said, Daryl, I said, I know. But I said, she didn't want to give me ID. And I told her, I have to follow the rules. I mean, this is what the procedure, and it was no exception, even though she's a regular. But I didn't connect the dots. I just didn't. I don't know why, but I didn't. And he's like, that's my wife.
Whoops.
I said, well, at least you know that I follow procedure.
Right.
I said, that's a plus, right?
Right.
And wow. But that one experience, it was really funny because the respect that he had for me, and then he kind of just took me under his wing after that, and I learned so much in the financial world. I mean, he was just an amazing man, generous to the employees, and really good to me. And then his wife, she came back through, and she was like, I wasn't trying to pull rank on you or anything, but I thought you knew who I was. I'm like, well, I didn't.
Yeah.
So we got through that. So yeah, it was a great experience though.
So how long did you work there?
9.5 years.
Wow. And were you going to college at the same time, or you went back to college after that?
So I was going at night, and I didn't stay there. So I also, I got promoted, but because I was so good back there too, when it got backed up, it's like, I'm a one-man show. You guys have 2 people back there and they can't keep up. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah. So, but I had, some really good mentors there as well. And the VP at the time, she taught me how to do other things, and she was the director of operations there. So there's a whole opportunity there that I was able to work with her. So, and then I got into personal banking and all of that. So I started going to night school during that time. And then one day I was just literally just sitting there, and I remember the American flag and I was outside, was looking out the window, and I remember just kind of scanning, and I was like, you know what, unless somebody dies here, there's no room for advancement. I'm capped out, literally capped out. And I started thinking like, well, what am I going to do now? And so that's when I just decided that, what, enough's enough. I don't know what the future holds, but I know if I want any type of freedom, it's not sitting here. And this experience has been great, but I don't have a timeline of when somebody is going to, move on, whether that's voluntary or involuntary. Right. And right. I remember looking at that flag, and I just turned around in my chair, typed up a resignation letter, and went and talked to my supervisor. And she was like, what happened? What did we do something? I'm like, nope. I said, I just know what I know. I can't explain it. I just know that if I'm going to go and explore the world, I need it.
It's not going to happen here.
It's not going to happen here. And I never will forget. The sun was shining, and good old glory was just waving just as high. And so even though I didn't know what the heck I was going to do, that's how it happened. So I just made it.
And that was 9.5 years working at that bank. So you're now what, 27, 28, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And you, did you have a plan? Did you have another job lined up? Did you?
I had a plan of, not specifically. I knew that I had to work, obviously. Right. So my plan is that I was just going to start doing temporary jobs, find a temporary service, and go that route, because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what industry that I wanted to be in. I didn't know what I was going to like. Right. So I figured I'll start there, because you're never out of work. First of all, if you don't like it, you don't have to take that assignment. Right. And so but I was very specific. I wasn't just going just to do anything, just to say that you had it. And then I met this wonderful couple who they specialized in engineering with Monsanto, and that's all they did placements for. And so I remember she told me, she's like, I have places that I could send you, but you're not qualified. You don't have a degree. And, at that particular time, Purdue University was really, really big. So if you didn't have a degree from Purdue, you were like, not looked at well. And I hadn't even finished my bachelor's at that point, so I told her, I said, Marty, if you just give me a shot, I won't let you down. And she's like, Patricia, this is a big account of ours. It's not something that we can just send anybody in. I'm like, I know. I said, but I've never done you wrong. And I just need a shot. And so, so she did. She sent me on the interview. It was a marketing position there. And it was intense, because it was, I think, what did I interview with 6 or 7 people back to back, and the one guy did not like me. Like, he did not like me, and he just flat out said, "I don't know how you got here, but you will not get to John." That was like his boss, right?
Yeah.
You're not getting to John. And he's like, "So this is just pure entertainment." And I'm sitting there thinking, and I was real cocky back then. So, I mean, I had a lot more juice, and you know, then. Yeah. And, but I was nervous. I was really nervous too, because I was like, I did not realize it was going to be that intense, but I'm like, I'm here. I can't let her down, because she took took a big chance on me, which I was totally grateful for. And it started out, the first one went okay, you know, and it was the typical, you know, blah, blah. Then got to the next one. But when I got to that guy that didn't like me, I did kind of have a little bit of a chip, because I was like, if the buck is going to stop here, he's going to know how the buck is going to be spent. You know what I mean?
Feel the buck. Yeah.
So it was really tough. I mean, some of the questions that he asked were, I had no clue, because I didn't even know really what they did. Marty had given me a kind of a guideline of what they did, but he was way out there talking about engineering, and then talking about how you didn't have your master's degree and how you didn't go to Purdue University, just really condescending and blah, blah. And so he literally, he says, you know, just for kicks and grins, I'm going to go ahead and let you talk to my boss, because he's just going to eat you for lunch. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm like, I have nothing to lose anyway at this point. So we got to the lab, you know, when I was talking to him, and super nice. It was like, he just had a conversation with me, Ken. He wasn't even like, where did you go? Blah, blah, blah. You know, that whole just rigid, impersonal conversation. And he was looking at my resume, and he's like, well, you know, you have a lot of sales experience. Do you know what we do here? And so I told him, you know, gave him a general idea. But you want to know the thing that impressed him the most?
Sure.
Was the fact that at the time I had been on a couple of committees, but because I was a member of the Veteran of Foreign Wars for women, and he was a vet, so I got the job. It wasn't for anything, but he said that anybody that was that young, that had a heart for the military and had a heart for the love of our country, that was enough for him. So he came out celebrating, like, hey guys, Patricia, and the look on the other guy's face was just like, what just happened?
What happened?
And so it gave me a lot of, you know, confidence, because I was like, you know, who would have thought something as simple as just being a member of the VFW would have that kind of impact. So it taught me that you just never know. And then at that time I was like, I don't even need a master, because this particular job, and I'm a proponent of education, don't get me wrong, I am 100%. But at that time I was like, I got this job, and you're supposed to have a master's degree. So that my ego was real big at that point, because I was feeling real cocky. But it was a good experience for me too, you know. And
you were working for Monsanto, is that right?
It was a division of Monsanto. Yeah. So basically,
how long did you work there?
Probably about 4 years. The project that we were working on, they sold that technology to the manufacturer. Okay. So that kind of fizzled out. So
where did you go from there? Because I know you're in sales now, and you do incredibly well. At what point did you? So you left Monsanto. Where'd you go? Where did you get into the industry you're in now?
Yes.
Okay, so talk about that. Talk about how you ended up because you're in the insurance business.
Yeah.
And how did you end up in insurance?
Well, before I went into insurance, I went to get my license and everything, because I wanted to have that as a backup, you know, just in case, if you got a layoff, or, you know, it's always nice to have multiple streams of income. But before that, I went full time into insurance. I transitioned from Monsanto to a microbiology company, and we basically sold refurbished like MRI equipment, high end equipment for, like, say, like a Mayo Clinic. They were upgrading, then maybe a smaller community they would lease that equipment, and it was a major upgrade for like a rural community. So I did that for a little bit, a couple years, and then I went full time into the insurance business.
And what made you decide, like, I want to be in insurance?
I was looking at if I was ever to get laid off again, or if any industry, what industry is going to be stable over time. So I looked into real estate. I looked into a couple other things, and I talked to several people that were in the business, and they said that, there's different avenues that you can go into within this arena and this sector. So I chose that because A, you could help people. B, I was really passionate because, most people don't have life insurance. That simple policy, and so at the time, I was like, I can help so many people that don't even know that a lot of these really affordable products even exist. So I just was drawn to that because I knew that I could help make a difference with people, and then they wouldn't have to worry about dealing with, selling stuff or burdening the family with trying to come up with money. So it really became a passion. And the group business was really something that I love, working with the employers and helping their employees, and I really focused on education though. I really built the whole business on education, and because they don't know what they don't know, but through that process, they began to trust, and then they were like, oh, I became the person. If she doesn't know, she knows somebody. So I was able to help and to facilitate that. So I really, insurance kind of chose me after I got into it.
Wow. But did you say that you went through the licensing process while you were still at the other job?
I had started it. Yes.
Wow. Good for you. So you had some foresight, I guess, into that. So you got into the insurance business. Now, is that commission only from the beginning? Did they pay you a huge salary to be there? That was a rhetorical question.
I know. That's why I'm laughing.
Yeah.
No. So within the insurance sector, that you can be independent. They have captive agencies, and then they have organizations where, you're an employee, and you can go and work there, and you get a salary. When I started, and it's 100% commission, straight commission. You build your own book of business. You get your own clients. Now, depending on which IMO that you're with, they can provide you with certain tools, but if you're 1099, you're pretty much on your own. And I've always been a hunter. So I've been known, that's what they used to call me, was the hunter, because I just would find things and look for my business. And the key to being a hunter is building relationships, so anybody can do it. But my key was I would do what most people wouldn't do, right? Driving 20 minutes out of the way, which seems like an eternity to some, was how I built the bulk of my business starting in my career. And I didn't do anything different. Everybody, they're like, oh, well, what did you do? Well, and everybody wants to be like you when they see the fruit of your labor, but but they don't see the whole process of the months that it took of establishing those relationships and doing the work, and then everybody wants a piece of the pie. And so that was kind of an interesting experience too.
Well, and you told me that, in other conversations you and I've had, because you're a client of mine, it started as a friend. We've been friends for quite a while, but
Yeah.
You told me that you went into areas that nobody else would go to. Like you went to some really, really rough areas.
I got some stories for you, brother.
No.
I'm not kidding. I'm telling you, like, it's really, so it's very interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'll tell you, the going across the river. All right. So I don't know how many people are familiar with St. Louis, but if anybody knows where the stadium or the arch is, and you're on 64, well, 20 minutes south, I guess, is you're into Illinois. But there's certain parts that are questionable, right? And I got a client over there and I just would go, and it got to the point where the insurance lady's here. So it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
But there were several instances where it wasn't I'm like, what am I doing here? What am I doing? But I guess I don't know. I don't know if I was chasing the high. I don't know what it was, but I really honestly, now that I think about it though, I don't know that I even thought about it. I was just like, these people need help and I'm going to help them, and it is what it is. So here we are.
But you were willing to do, I guess my point is you were willing to do, or go places where other people wouldn't.
Yeah.
And then, you've experienced tremendous success as a result of your hard work and your willingness to just go wherever people need help. And I think that a lot of people miss that about life. Like, you've got to be willing to do what other people won't do. And if you are, then you can separate yourself from the rest of the pack.
Yeah. Can I tell you a quick story really quick?
Yeah, please.
So there was I got my lead sheet and everything, and I saw the area and I'm like, oh, that's, not too bad of an area. But I get there and first of all, there's like 50 plus cats running around, everywhere. But they had they were hoarders, and they had this big TV and in the corner there, and on the TV was it was what was it? It was National Geographic, and it was all about the KKK. So when I knocked on the door, he was like, I told him, I said, hey, I'm here for your appointment. And he was like, well, hey, they didn't tell me they were sending a blank. And I'm like,
oh,
you have a problem with that? I mean,
wow.
Tell me now, and then, but when I looked at up above his couch, he had a Army memorabilia up there. And I said, I said, were you in the service? I said, thank you for your service. I said, my dad was 82nd Airborne as well. And he's like, what? And I said, yeah. I said, thank you for your service. And he's like, well, I guess you're okay.
Oh, jeez. What the heck?
But here's the deal. Do you know he's been over the years, he's one of my best referring clients. And when I get a call, I'll say, did Fred tell you that yeah, I know you're black. I said, okay, just want to put it out there to make sure so we wouldn't have any issues. But it's just the mind shift in people. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if he still feels that way, but he still sends me referrals.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy.
Wow. That's unbelievable. But see, that's what I love about you is you are, you're just willing to confront. You just stand in courage and say, look, somebody, I don't know who this is because it says Facebook user, but says, I love your courage. And hey, look, my wife's on here. She said, what? Like that is crazy. But you stand in courage and face it. Uh-oh, we have an internet hiccup. Look at that. She's frozen. Can you guys still hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, it's Troy again. Patricia, can you guys hear me? Drop a you can hear me. Okay, so it's her internet. Patricia, your internet has gone out. Oh, she's gone. Wow, that's happened twice this week. That's not good. Let's see if she comes back on. Hopefully she comes back on. Um, I don't know. Don't know what happened there. Yeah, it was just starting to get really good. So let's give Patricia a moment to see if if her internet comes back. Let's see. Daggone it. We may have to reschedule this if it doesn't come back soon. She is an amazing, amazing woman. My wife says such great energy and so open to what God has for her. She is going to take the world by storm. Okay, hold on. She just popped back in. Hang on. Let's see. There she is. There she is. Hey, what happened?
I don't know.
That
like
was
Google Chrome. It just says it just started spinning. So I'm sure
your internet. Something happened with the internet. I don't know. Well, hey, look what my wife just said about you.
I love Jill. Thank you.
We love you. And you sent 2 bouquets of flowers to us yesterday. You're amazing.
I didn't want you to feel left out. I didn't want,
You're amazing. Thank you. So where were we? We were talking about the guy, the racist. I can't, but you confronted that. A lot of people would have just said, well, blank you and blah blah blah, and you didn't. You stayed in the conversation. You found common ground, and you made a sale.
I got locked in a house once. Guy pretended to be an amputee, and it was back in the boot hills. I mean, boot hills, to the point where you lose service. And I grew up, I know gravel roads, county roads, so I'm not fearful of going back in the woods. But I pulled up to this trailer, and I was like, oh, okay, So I'm like, no, they live down there. And I'm sitting there thinking, all I see is trees. I don't even see an opening, right? And so I was like, okay, well, I got in there, and the dude, his wife, she looked like she was scared, and it was a small trailer. It was a fire pit is what it was. And I realized as soon as I saw that he really wasn't an amputee, and he did not like African Americans at all. He he locked the door, had deadbolts, and she was sitting over there on the couch. And I was like, man, I was like, oh my God, please don't let me survive cancer to end up going out like this. Especially, I mean, seriously, I don't know what was going on with him. And so it went on and on. He's like, you're not scared? I'm like, well, sir, why would I be scared? I'm here to help you.
Wow.
I was scared. Are you kidding me? I was scared to death. Like, I was hoping he couldn't see my heart beating out of my chest.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. I didn't get scared very often, but that was one of the times. And so I was like, okay, God, please help me. How do I get out of here? Because I mean, it's dead bolted in. And then he went and got this box out and had this knife thing in there and these little pistols and stuff.
What in the world?
And I'm looking at her, and she's just sitting over there like, I was like, okay, so this is obviously an abusive thing. And he was obviously trying to scam for this program that, he was qualified for, because he was supposedly an amputee, which he was not. So I said, sir, you know what? I said, I don't know what your agenda is. And I said, I'm sorry that, you don't really like African Americans. I said, but I said, I really do want to help you. And I said, and I have another thing in the car that I need you to sign, and that I can get that for you if you like. And I think he was a little hesitant. I said, well, your wife, I said, if you're not comfortable with that, I said, your wife can go with me. And he hesitated for a little bit, and then he was like, okay, but you're coming right back. And I said, yes, sir. And so I got in the trunk. I had my keys, I got in the trunk, and she's looking at me, and I'm sitting there thinking, I said, okay, now I've backed up on rural roads many a time and hit ditches and everything else.
Yeah.
This is going to be my defining moment to get the heck out of Dodge here, know? And, but she was looking, I was like, how am I going to do this? And so I popped over the trunk and I said, I'm looking for and I did have the pamphlet, but I wasn't going back in. And so I got in the driver's side, I turned the key, and when I saw that she kind of wasn't looking, I cranked it, and I literally hopped in, put Little Red Riding Hood in reverse, spun out, and the door wasn't even shut. And I was like, just on adrenaline. I don't even know how I got out of there. I know at the end of that drive was a church, and I pulled over and I started crying because I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
And I called the IMO I was with at the time. I'm like, dude, I'm done. No more. Do not give me. I was done. And so that was a crazy, crazy experience. But he was trying to fraud the system too. And then it didn't help that because of my skin tone, that was a problem. I just have I don't see color when it comes to clients. It's really been kind of interesting because I've had more racism from my own race than I have from any other culture. And I know, that sounds crazy, but wow. Insurance has really taught me a lot and how to deal with people, how to love people, and how to you learn not to take a whole lot of things personal, whether you're, African-American, Caucasian, Asian, it doesn't really matter. We're all people and we have to help each other. So it's been interesting.
One of the things though about you that I love is you could be really resentful. You could be really you could be really resentful because of people like that, and you chose to take the high road and not live in resentment, and which just is mind-blowing to me. I think it's incredible. It's one of the things I love about you the most. And you mentioned something. Jill just put, we're all people and we have to help each other. Words to live by, for sure. So you mentioned, don't let me survive cancer and go out like this. Like, talk about the cancer thing. You kind of brushed right by that.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
I use that story more as a
get back in the center of the screen. Okay. Sorry. No, the other way. Yeah, there you go. There you go.
There we go. You made me change my camera, so I'm not used to this view, so I'm a little over. So yeah. So during this whole time, sometimes you're just on adrenaline.
Yeah.
And you just go, and you don't recognize signs that your body is saying, hey, slow down.
Yeah.
And I've always had migraines and just different things. So my body had been telling me for a while that there were some issues, and I just pressed through it. And the trajectory of, I remember I was driving down 270 and I just kind of I don't even know how I got to the hospital. Wasn't for sure. And I had at that, the doctor told me that it was a TIA. And I'm like, that's like a mini stroke. What is that? How did I have that? And so I had some other issues that was going on after they did the blood work and stuff. And so after being misdiagnosed and basically a guinea pig. So I always tell people, and an advocate for people, be your own advocate. If something doesn't feel right, especially if you know your body, you know how you normally operate, don't be afraid just because you feel that they're in a position of power, and power meaning that, doctors, know some have the belief that doctors know everything, and they don't. They're people too, and there's some very good doctors out there that know exactly, how to pinpoint things. And I'm not saying that all doctors are bad. I don't mean that. I'm just saying that if something is not right, and then in that pursuit of trying to figure it out, you're getting worse instead of better, it's time to make a change and just say, hey, thank you for helping me up to this point, but I'm going to have to, I love my life and I want to continue to live. So I'm going to have to pursue other things. So that happened a couple of, times where they would give me a more medication. So basically a combination of wrong medications and being misdiagnosed, the whole gamut, turned into me just being a train wreck from a health perspective, right? I ended up having a couple more, and then I finally just was like, I was literally deteriorating to the point where I couldn't even walk. Like literally. And my friend, she will forever have a place in my heart. I told her, I said, if they don't do something, I'm going to be dead by December. I just knew it. And because they couldn't figure out what was wrong. Right. And so I asked the doctor, and the sad part looking back now is the people he at the time was referring me to was his own network that was going to give him and support what he was saying. Right. So I remember I went to the rheumatologist and he came up with this thing. He's like, well, most African American. I'm like, okay, so we're on the bandwagon now that you've read something that most African Americans have. I'm like, dude, I said, I have a 2-year-old. Not literally a 2-year-old, but a 2-year-old could tell me something like that. You're just, shooting craps at this point. And so
when did all this happen?
Is it going to be 11 years this September?
Wow.
It'll be 11 years. So yeah.
Wow.
So that all happened. And I asked him, I said, can you just refer me to Mayo Clinic or just even if somebody here in St. Louis? I didn't have to go there, but do something because I'm not getting any better. Right. And he wouldn't do it. He wasn't open to that. So finally I had another one of those TIAs again, and it was getting worse. And I told Jan this, and I went home that night, and I was devastated. And I'm like, if I'm going out knowing I've done everything in my power to stay here. Right. And I went online because I had been collecting all my medical records and stuff too. Right. So I highly recommend you do that. Just so that you have it, because I did not want them to think I was a hypochondriac either. So I went on Johns Hopkins website and I went on Mayo Clinic's website, and I'm like, look, I'm out of options. I don't know if you can get me in. I got a lot going on. They've basically given up on me. I've had all of these things, and I put my actual data in there so that they knew what they were dealing with. And I'm like, I don't know if you can help me, but if you can with today's technology, I need help. And so 2 days later, a lady from Mayo Clinic called and said that you got a lot going on. We don't know if we can help you, but if you can get here by Monday. I said, my doctor won't refer me. She's like, you don't have to have a referral. Doctor didn't tell me that. It will be out of network. And so I called Jan, and she drove me up there, carried me to the car, her and her husband, and drove me up there. And I told her, I said, we're not going to say goodbye, but I may not see you again. She was my best friend, and
wow.
And it was very hard for her. And I said, I have to take this journey by myself. And so that started it. And then, they were very nice. Amazing. Dr. Fleming, he's a philosopher. So, he's a good friend of mine. And his wife, they're just amazing people. And so he gave me, he said, Ms. Watson, you have a lot going on. I don't know if we can help you, but what I do know is you have a long journey ahead. And this is what I recommend. So he told me, I'm going to get you 2 books. One was You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay, and the
Oh,
other,
I love
yeah,
her.
and I have this one, and then he gave me a desktop edition as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And the other book, which is one of my, if that it really puts it, is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Amazing. One of my favorite books.
So that book is always right there as a reminder, because if that doesn't put things in perspective, nothing will. So those are the two things that I was blessed with, and because he had been,
and this was your doctor.
He would. So when you go to Mayo Clinic, they assign basically a primary care, but then so he's your point of contact for everything. It's ran like a fine-tuned machine, you know. So you get an itinerary. So he's your point of contact for everything that you need, and nothing can be done unless everybody agrees on it as well, which is what I like. And so because it was such a blessing, because even with Dr. Fleming, he was so respected there, and he had been so during some of the procedures that I had to have rehab, and so it was like gosh, how many months? I forgot. A long waiting list. He wasn't getting in there anytime soon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? And he's like, you're going tomorrow. And I was like, what? So the nurse comes in. She's like, oh, you don't know? She's like, do you know who Dr. Fleming is? I'm like, obviously not. She's like, no, he used to be the director over all of that. And so I was able to get in, met some incredible people there. And then I go up there. I haven't been in 2 years, but the one program I go, and I'm one of the spokespersons for talking to the parents and people that come through. It's a 13-week program. It's very intense, and it's not cheap. It's very expensive, but having that perspective. So I always enjoy going back there and seeing everybody and being able to speak, because now you can see the hope that they have, like, oh, okay, yes, this is a lot of money, but she's a walking, talking billboard. She's already been through that program. And so it was pretty amazing how I had all of these really just good-hearted people that helped me in that path.
And Yesenia wants you to share the books again. Show that book again. Louise Hay.
So Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Yep.
And then Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yep. Which that Man's Search for Meaning, man, that book will completely rock your world. It will rock your world.
First chapter is like, what just happened?
It's unbelievable. Like Viktor Frankl, I mean, he survived the entire book is about how he survived the Auschwitz and watched his entire family be slaughtered before his eyes, and it's unbelievable. Like, and then he comes out and starts a whole new form of psychotherapy called logotherapy. And he's Man's Search for Meaning. I truly believe that everybody on planet Earth needs to read that book. It needs to be a required reading before you are even allowed to step out of your house.
I agree.
I mean, it's just an unbelievable book, because it does put it into perspective. Like, does not matter how bad life kicks your butt. There's always hope.
Yeah.
Always hope.
Absolutely.
And that book definitely lays it out. So this ended up being cancer.
Well, no. So there was a lot of things going on. So I couldn't walk like literally from here to my office door there. And so I had because there was something going on with my heart, and I had something going wrong with my blood. And it was just kind of crazy. And so they take all of these tests, all these blood work, and that's like the roadmap. And then based on what they see, they prioritize everything. So when I had to go to the oncologist, she came in. I mean, I already knew something was up. So I'm like, she's like, yeah, we just got your results back. I'm like, okay, so what is it? Because I got a lot going on. I got other surgeries. So where does this fit in?
Right.
And she was like, oh, well, you're that attitude's really, do you realize the seriousness of this? And I'm like, yeah, I do, but I want to be home by January. So let's get this rolling. If you were looking for tears, it's not happening right now. I mean, I don't even know what I was saying at the time. It was just a reaction because what was I going to do? And prior to that, during the rehab section, before I got that diagnosis, there was a that 13-week program that I told you was hard to get into. There was a lot of people there, and there was a lady. She's my silver-headed princess. She came in, and she had her decked. She's just really a beautiful lady, and she was like, "Is anyone sitting here?" And I was like, "No." And so she sat there. She always calls me her child, and her name is Sandy. And she became my my best friend. She's 80 years old now, and she took me under wing. She literally was there for me. She's one of my dearest friends to this day. I talk to her almost every day, if not, a couple of times a week. But during that stay, we got approval where I didn't have to stay there. And she would literally roll me in a wheelchair to her house because everything is connected. So she lived in the high rise at Mayo Clinic, and she was with me through every surgery. She went to every doctor's appointment with me, rolled me in, and she was an angel, literally an angel. And I remember the day that she's like, honey, everything's going to be okay. God didn't bring you this far to leave you now. And she crawled in the bed with me the day that I was supposed to have my double mastectomy. And she's like, you're going to be fine. You're literally going to be fine. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening right now, but I didn't go up there for that. They found that because they missed that here when I had the mammogram. So it's very important. So before that, though, I had to have before I could have that surgery, because the heartbeats, it was like 50 some thousand heartbeats my heart was pumping, so I had to have this ablation. And, Sandy, she was like, honey, everything's going to be okay. Well, by that time you've had enough, what your whiskey cocktails are, and you're waiting for it.
Yeah.
Like, where are these people? Right. And I don't know where they're at. And so to come and give me my juice. And so the anesthesiologist came in, he's like, let me go get the doctor for you. So there was this long wait. Well, then this nurse walks in. I'm like, oh, I said, you're not a regular part of the crew. Who are you? And she's like, oh, everything's going to be okay. And she walked around the bed and she came above my head and she put her hands on my shoulder. And she's like, honey, everything's going to be just fine. You don't have a thing to worry about. I was like, who is this lady? I don't even, she's not part of my regular crew. So she leaves. She literally walks out. And so then the anesthesiologist comes back in and the regular crew, and I'm like, oh, I see. I said, you're the new girl is really nice. I said, she's a really nice lady. They're like, what new lady? We don't have anybody here.
Wow. I just got chills. That just gave me chills.
I'm like, no, she just walked out. You couldn't have missed her. He's like, there's nobody here. I told you I was going to get the doctor. The doctor's here to explain to you what's about to happen.
Wow. And
I realized that was, an angel.
Wow. 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 Chills everywhere. Yeah. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. And that's when I found out that procedure, you're not getting a whiskey cocktail because you have to be coherent.
Yeah.
You have to be awake. And so they basically, it was just, just saying everything was going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. Jeez. And I was high risk because of the strokes and the TIA. So it was, and that was the first time, Ken, that I was actually scared. Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And, you're sitting there immobilized and that tears are running, but you can't, it was like being in a sci-fi movie. You can see everything on the monitors, but because that nurse appeared, I had that in my head too. So it's really mind blowing. When I told Sandy about it, she's like, "Well, I was just out here praying for you, child." She's like, everything's going to be okay. That was just an angel." So
wow, that's so awesome.
My heart's beating now because it was a
amazing.
critical point in my life.
So I can't believe we're already at an hour. Holy moly. Let's talk about and Theodora wants to hug you.
Oh, thanks, Theodora. Thank you.
She says that you guys have similar stories.
Oh, you'll have to connect with me.
Yeah,
I'd love to chat with you.
You haven't seen the comments, but she said she read Louise Hay's book in Romanian when she was diagnosed and going through chemo.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So Robert says that's amazing. So you got through all of that, and your love for humans and life is incredible, and it's so apparent. You're just radiating love from every pore in your body all the time. And you and I meet once a week and we have incredible conversations, and you're always just radiating joy and gratitude, and you're an amazing. I think that a big part of that is because you've had your butt kicked.
Yeah,
man, you have had your butt kicked in life, and when you come out on the other side, there's nothing left but gratitude.
Yeah, that's 100% correct. And I know what it feels like to be at the point of not knowing what's going to happen, and not that other people haven't felt like that. I just don't want people to feel like that. I don't want people to be curled up in a ball, contemplating taking their life, attempting to take their life because they don't have support or they don't feel like somebody is there for them. And I've been there, and it doesn't feel good, So I just want people. I'm not delusional, but I want them to know that if they don't have anybody, that somebody cares for them, and being in those places has taught me just to do whatever I can to the best of my ability, that if they can encounter for a moment some sense of peace, that's what I want to be able to provide.
And you do. Talk a little bit about, if you want, or if you can, a little bit about, you had a huge spiritual epiphany, awakening, occurrence, whatever do you want to talk about that a little bit?
A little bit, maybe a little bit, because that's a lot to put in, and
I know.
And it may be more than what some people can handle.
But you don't have to go into details,
okay.
Like you have with me, but talk about, you've been on, like, look, Patricia, you've been on a freaking unbelievable journey.
Yeah.
Like, you have been on an unbelievable journey. You've experienced racism on many levels, and you still are just unshakable. You're unstoppable. You are, and you had this big epiphany not too awful long ago, and it's literally sending you on a completely new trajectory.
Yeah. And so the last year I've been in this really just this deep dive of, what is it that I'm really supposed to be doing? What is my true purpose in life? What does that look like? And sometimes it gets to the point where it's so for me, it was so overwhelming. I was like, I don't even know where to begin. And so I was literally, it just came to me. It was one of my mentors. I called him and, I sent him a message and I'm like, are you able to talk? And he said, yes, of course. And so I reached out to him and he just knew. And I started the mentorship with him. And on that journey, it led to me going to Joshua Tree for an amazing experience and just having, that support of that next level on a spiritual plane also has opened my heart up, has opened up my sense of well-being of what is next for me. So being under that mentorship and being able to have those experiences and being around, loving, caring, kind people was amazing. And so having that facilitation and, one of my, she's a beautiful soul, which I always love. What you see in others is what you see in yourself. So, and she always says that all the time. I just love that about her.
Yeah.
She always says that. And so, having that support and that love around you has just the last 98 days have just been a game changer of elevation, of going in to come to have without, right, to show what you are, not only what you're capable of, but just on such a deep level, right?
Yeah.
Just such a deep level. And so that's a very condensed version of having great mentorship, people who care and love and support you, and being able to then, the key is you can have people to love and support you and have the mentorship, but you still have to do the work. That's the big thing that I think that's the missing link, that you can take people's time, they can give their time, they can love you, but at the end of the day, the only person that you're looking at in that mirror, that camera, whatever, is yourself. That's the only person. And so having those suggestions and having that care, that concern, and that whole next level of elevation, you still have to do the work. And so that's been my mission. I have never been a person that I start something and don't finish it. And I'm certainly not going to take people's time, their patience, their care, their love, what they put into something, to then dishonor that by, I'm not going to do the work now. And then the next time you meet or can you help me? Or I'm feeling this way. Okay, but did you do this? Have you been journaling? Have you been spending time in prayer? Have you meditation, whatever it is for you, journaling? Well, then you can't really expect a whole lot more, because here it's been handed to you on a beautiful silver platter, right? And now you've chosen to not honor that by not doing the work. So my thing is that I'm grateful that he took that call. I'm grateful for those experiences. I'm grateful for all that support, the care, the love, everything, the joy, because that now it's like, that cocoon, when living out in a rural area, you see those things all the time. They look kind of nasty. And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, look at that.
Yeah.
And it's this big, beautiful butterfly. So it's that whole transformation.
And you've certainly transformed, and you're in the middle of still a big transformation that's happening right now, and that's why I wanted you to come on the show and share your beautiful energy and your beautiful love for all of mankind. Like, you genuinely love other people, like no matter what. And I it's one of the things I love about you the most. You're just you're an amazing woman. And you have been through, and here's the other thing, like, you got visited by an angel. I didn't even know that part of your story.
Yeah, I don't share it often, because I used to get caught. So during that time, there's so much going on. That was my story. That was like my identity. And so now, though, I use that story to at the appropriate times to help somebody, not because that's my identity. And I had to differentiate between the two, because even in the insurance business, I talked to a client, they're like, oh, you don't know. And then I would go, well, I had da, 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 da. And then we'd be chasing rabbits.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that I was like, no, that's not my story. So now when I need to use it, that's when I share it.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't, because there's a fine line. If you don't have constant mentorship and around positive, and can stay focused, it's easy to shift back into that identity, and you lose focus of what you're supposed to do and who you really are to become. So it's a great experience. I don't ever want it to happen again, but I'm glad that it happened, because it's made me into the person that I am today. It's enhanced that. And, I truly do love people. I really do.
I know you do. I know you do. And I think everybody watching, if they don't know you do, then they're blind.
I do.
Oh, so let me ask you this, and I ask everybody that's a guest on the show this question. The number one answer is fear. You've heard me ask this. You got to do better than fear. What do you think? What do you think holds people back in life from financial success and freedom, happiness, joy, however you define it?
I really believe that I don't believe it's fear. I believe it's the belief of the power that you have within yourself to do and be anything that you want to do. And for me, that and taking for granted the freedom that we do have to be able to make that decision. I mean, we live in a beautiful country where we have the freedom to do whatever we want. And that's from a mindset perspective, from an ability to go on the internet to get mentorship. We can reach out to people. It's a mindset. It has nothing to do with fear. It's that belief system of you have the power. Everything is within you. And some people, myself included, you really don't want to access that because it's going to bring up a lot of things. And it goes back to Ken, where you have to do that work, and people don't want to do the work. They just want the results of the work.
Right.
They don't want the work. And I think it's the work that keeps people from doing that. Or half doing it, half, not all in. You have to be all in for yourself. And if you're not, I really believe that's the key factor. It has nothing to do with fear. If you're not willing to do the work, whether you're lazy or you just don't want to do it, or you're not feeling good. And I understand the mental turmoil that you can have, but at some point you're going to have to find it somewhere within yourself to really just dig deep and say, hey, I'm going to make a call to somebody and hope they say yes. And if they don't, smile and dial. That's what we do on the phone. You don't have any business, smile and dial. Pick up the phone until somebody says, I can help you. And if that's only for that day, okay, then the next time, figure it out again,
and this is the other question I ask. This pandemic and the last year and a half has been very difficult on a lot of people. In fact, I know that the suicide rates just skyrocketed all over planet Earth. To the people who are struggling right now that may be listening or watching, and maybe they're going through their own stuff and they feel like they've tried everything and it's not working out, and they don't know which way to turn. They don't know which way is up. The pain is incredible. And they're wondering, what's the point of even being here? I had somebody say the other day, will anybody even notice if I'm not here? Mm-hmm. If somebody's watching right now and they've lost all hope, what do you say to that person to help them get through to the next moment? Because you and I both know it's going to pass. But unfortunately, people don't see that.
Right.
And they stay stuck. What do you say to that person?
The fact that you're still alive and breathing should be enough, and not taken away from the situation or what they're feeling, but the fact that you're still breathing, this fact that you can still pick up the phone if you choose to, reach out to someone, you have the availability to do. I think one of the things that we forget about, Ken, is free will. We all have free will. So no matter how you're feeling, you have free will. So you have the ability to still, no matter what. I mean, there's hotlines that you can call. There's always something that you can do. Even if it's just taking a breath and knowing that you can breathe, that God is giving you the breath of life, right? As long as you're taking that next breath, there's hope. There's something that you can do. But free will is huge. And we can't take that from people, right? Because they have that choice to make that decision. If they don't have the support, focus on something that they can do, somebody that they can call, and swallow your pride and know that it's okay that you're feeling this way, but you're not going to get any better if you don't take action. And again, it goes back to, you still have to do the work. And even in the darkest of places, that work may be a simple phone call to someone.
I think I believe people are not inherently lazy. I believe people are, more afraid of what if I do all this work and it doesn't work out, because nothing ever works out. Like they live in that mindset, right? And so wow, what you have delivered today is absolute gold. I know for a fact you helped people today. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ken. You're an amazing individual as well.
Thank
what
you.
you have brought to the world has been, it's just amazing. So I'm honored and humbled too. So it always goes both ways. Don't forget the reflection in the mirror.
That's right. That's right. Patricia, thank you for being here. And thank you to everybody who's been on here and shared this out. And, that's one of the really weird things about life, is the more that we share other people's stuff, the more blessings come to us. So if you shared this out, prepare yourself to be blessed. So Patricia, thank you. You're amazing. I'm so grateful that you're in my life and in my wife's life, and you're just part of our journey. And I'm grateful for you.
Grateful. Back at you. Thank you.
Everybody have a wonderful day, and make sure you follow Patricia. And what website can everybody go to? Or is there one right now? That's in process. Yeah. So follow her on Facebook and Instagram, Patricia M. Watson. What is your Instagram handle? Patricia M. Watson.
I believe it's Peace with Patricia. I'm in the process of changing all of that. So
okay,
just hang tight. I'll put all that stuff on there. So
yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you. My wife loves you. We think the world of you. So thank you. And everybody have a fantastic day. Stay with me, Patricia. I'm going to end this though. So thank you guys.
Thank you.